Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Ron Wheeler, and I'd love to welcome you to our presentation, How to Generate 3% per month with one option trade per week. It's 4:25 Eastern Time, so I'm going to start the official presentation in about 5 minutes. But before we do that, I always like to open up the room a little bit early just to make sure that there's no issues with technology or anything crazy like that. So do me a favor, I'm going to advance the slide, and it should say on air. If you guys can see where it says on air, if just type a yes if you can hear my voice and see my screen. That way I know that that way I know everything works. And then also you go in the chat windows where you do that. So in the lower right hand corner of your GoToWebinar box, there should be a little chat function. That's where you type everything in, and then I can see your comments. And it's also a good time to find that chat button because we're going to be doing some back and forth today. So always good to find all that kind of stuff. All right, cool. So as you're checking in, do me a favor, drop me a little note saying that you can hear and see everything. Gil, Ken, Bermesto, Vicus, and if I pronounce your name wrong, I'm sorry. Marguerite, Dan, Paul, Anthony, Miguel, Russell. Okay, awesome. Richard, Agibuna. I probably pronouncing your name wrong. I apologize, but I'm trying. Larry, good deal. Everything seems to be working and functioning, so I think we're good as far as the technology goes. Just kind of curious while we wait for the start of the presentation that starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. By the way, I'm in Ohio, if you didn't know that. My name again is Ron Wheeler, and I'm going to be doing the presentation with you. So I'm on the East Coast time frame. What time is it by where you live? I always like to kind of get an idea of where everybody's joining me in from. Just especially these 4:30 classes. You know, some of you guys taking some time out of your evening over in Europe, or for some reason you're up in the middle of the night in Australia, or maybe still at work over in California, you know. All right, Ontario. You're in the same as I am. I love Ontario and Toronto and all those places. Florida, Larry, 4:30-ish, David. Yep, Eastern for at least today. I like that. 10:30 p.m. in Switzerland. See, I knew there had to be somebody out there. Miguel, you win so far for the longest. 2:30, 4:30 Eastern time, same. New Jersey, Dan. North Carolina. All right, cool. Looks like we're kind of all over the place. I like that. And then also, just for the heck of it, are you retired? You still working? Just kind of getting an idea of what the demographic is. I always like to change a little things in my presentation as I go. So again, you know what you're going to see today. By the way, I actually I actually intended and developed this as part of our retirement planning here at VectorVest. But I found out, you know, over the last decade of doing this that I've had people as young as 14. I had an attendee at one of our annual seminars, bought the course for his 14-year-old son. And he said, "Hey, I just want to, teach him things that you don't learn in college about how to generate money, how to make money in the market." Thought that was fantastic. So I've kind of found that it kind of hits a broad spectrum of folks. All right. I see retired, a lot of retired, working, retired, nearing retirement, Richard. I like that. Not retired. Oh, an interior designer. Love that. That's a gift, man. My wife is pretty good at that, but that's a gift. Because, man, do I not know color combinations. Glenn, working forever. The excess support me. Oh, gosh. South Africa, Marines. Welcome. 10:30 p.m. Love it. Retired in trading. Retired. Still working. All right, cool. Like I said, I just like to get an idea of what the layout is and how many people are working, still retired. Kind of helps me guide the live portion of the seminar. And remember, this is a live presentation, so I'll be doing this. You know, it's almost 4:30. It's 4:29 here in Ohio. I got some colleagues with me. They're down in North Carolina. From our other VectorVest office, and they're going to be in the background. You'll hear probably Steve at the end come in, and we'll do a Q&A together to answer any questions that you might have. But like I said, feel free to ask questions along the way. My colleagues will help answer questions during the presentation, and then they'll save some for me if there's any left over for me at the end. So again, questions along the way, please feel free to ask. That's what we're here for. All right, so it looks like it's just about time to get started. So let's go ahead and do that. It is now 4:30, so let's officially get started. I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar, How to Generate 3% per month with one option trade per week. And I'm excited you're here because this webinar teaches you, this really is my bread and butter trade. This is something that I actually do every week with my clients, okay? I do these trades multiple times a week. I do them with a live coaching group. So I'm going to show you today how you can take 15 minutes a day and turn it into consistent monthly paychecks, no matter what the market does. And stay with me because you're going to learn today what could completely transform your financial future, just like as for me and thousands of the students that I've taught over the last decade here. So, like I said, this is a live session, so please feel free to answer questions as you come in. So today we're going to learn how you could begin making a paycheck averaging 3% per month or even more. And you can do it regardless of the market direction. So bullish, bearish, it doesn't matter, with little to no prior experience, because I'll teach you everything you need to know. And it's safer than buying stocks. It's even safer than going short stocks because we're doing trades that have a limited amount of risk. It's locked in. And it's something that you can implement very, very quickly. Now, if I were you, and I was like a lot of people, I'd like to see some proof. You thinking, is this legit? You know, I see the Instagram, Snapchat things nowadays. I was just watching a documentary on a trading company that kind of came out during COVID, and it wasn't really a trading company. They were actually just doing like a multi-level marketing thing. But you know, you had all the people out there in their Lamborghinis and their houses, and it was all busted fake. So I'm not like that. I like to let the results stand for themselves. And I really like to let you decide. So this is my results through the end of September. I don't have October in there yet because we still do in October, but I trade a $100,000 account and with the live class, and we're up about 21% so far for the year. So, you know, we have over the last 10 year averaged about 3% per month. We've had some months where even this year I had 11% in June, or you know, I had a little 8% drawdown in August. But we are profitable more than we're not. We have averaged over the past 10 years, if you look at it collectively, 3% per month. And you know, we're a little bit behind this year, but hey, with the market the way it is this year, we're up about 21%. And the win rate with the volatility this year is a little lower. That's why I'm kind of behind a little bit. But like I said, you know, I'm up 21% for the year as of the end of September. October's been another profitable month, so it'll even go up really from there. Now, again, one of my recent students sent me this email, and he said, "Hey, Ron, I just want to send a quick email to thank you and your team for the SPX Paycheck course back in September. I've been using the method and tracking my performance and thought you'd like to see the results. I entered my first Delta 35 SPX trade on September 21st with only $5,000 in my account. Now, less than 3 months later, I'm already up 24.9%. Thanks again. I'll be teaching this method to my retired in-laws to help them grow their income in retirement." And I love hearing that. And there's also a big lesson here for you as well. You don't need to have 100 grand to do this. You know, you look at Kerry, he started with 5,000 bucks. He's already up 24%. You can start small while you learn and practice, and then, you know, add as you go. It builds up quickly. I mean, think about it. Even 5,000, if you average 3% per month, compounded over 15 years, that puts you over $1 million. And if you start with something larger like 25, you get there in half the time. You're looking at serious money. Now, if you have more than that, obviously you're going to get there much, much faster. Now, some of my clients were kind enough to share their photo and their results with you. We're going to talk about a few of them today. These are real people just like you. So as I teach the system today and share their stories, I want you to pay close attention because you might find that you're in a similar position now as they were when they started. My name again is Ron Wheeler, and I'm the option income coach here at VectorVest. I'm entering my 28th year of being a trader, started in 1997. And when I first started, the first couple of years, the first year and a half really, like a lot of investors and traders, I had mostly losses. And the reason I had mostly losses was, well, I was hard headed. That didn't help. But, you know, trading in a way where you have to be right to make money. You know, if I bought something, it had to go up. If I sold something short, it had to go down, right? It's a zero-sum game. Trading revolves, you know, being right and then managing your risk. So on the winning trade, you're not losing $1,000. On the winning trade, you're making 100. You know, you're managing everything. It's kind of like keeping a lot of wheels spinning, right? Now, I was a commodities trader when I first started. The company I worked for mainly concentrated on commodities. So I traded commodities, corn, you know, wheat, soybeans. I also did equity index futures like the S&P futures, Dow Jones, and things like that. I was not really an options guy. I didn't like options. I thought options added, you know, a lot of elements to the trade that were unnecessary, and that really I really kept that opinion till probably about 6 or 7 years into my trading career. And it all turned when actually one of our clients turned me onto this. He came out to our office to visit because he was in the area. He said, "Hey, Ron, you know, I know you're not an options guy, but let me show you what I do with options with the analysis that you taught us. I said, cool. And he actually turned out to be a hedge fund trader. He actually worked for a hedge fund in the Midwest. He said, I set up these trades and we do these trades where it doesn't matter if we're right or not. We still put ourselves into a position to where we can make money. He says, also, we use these to control our risk. So no matter what the stock does, we have a very finite amount of risk. So he basically said, listen, you don't have to be right to make money, and we control our risk, to the penny with these option spreads that we do and these option trades. So I kind of pulled that apart a little bit and I started dabbling with options. I never thought you could do things like that with options. So I started dabbling with them and I got really turned on and interested to them. So I started trading a little bit options more. Now, I was still a commodities guy, but I started doing more and more options until probably about 15 years ago is when I really made the big jump. I got tired of spending 8 hours in front of my screens all day looking at 3-minute charts, and I decided to take options a little bit more seriously because I had been profitable with them, and I tried to make them kind of my everyday thing. And I've been trading options really mainly now for about 15 years. So it's been a great thing for me. So what I want to show you is kind of the journey that he took me on today. I'm going to show you the system I put together that generates these types of returns. I'm going to show you case studies and examples of our clients who are doing this. And I'm going to show you the system so that if you learn and follow the strategies, you can reproduce it. And do me a favor, stay with me to the end. There's a lot of great information here tonight, and I really want you to take part in it. So at the end, I'm going to put a handout and give you a handout that kind of talks about putting a trade together to plan out your trade. So I'll put it right in the handout section. Just remind me when we get to the end because most of the time I forget. And then also, I know we talked about this, but this is an interactive webinar. Okay, so during the course of the hour that we're going to be together, I do ask for some feedback every now and then. So please, ask questions. And there's only so much that we can cover in an hour. So after the session is over, I'm going to give you some things that you can do if you want to continue your education and really start implementing this quicker. So we'll talk more about that at the end, but I guarantee you'll have an hour of packed information. So if you're good with that and you're ready, do me a favor. Just type a yes in the chat window. That way I know we're all still connected and it's kind of looking good. Amazon Web Services had a big outage today, so it's always good to know that everything is working. All right, Richard, Maurice, Dan, Glenn. All right, cool. I see a bunch of yeses coming in now. So that's what I wanted to make sure. Anthony, Mark. All right. Why is this such an important topic? Well, without a good income system, financial stress is your constant companion. And it creates problems if you don't. You may feel stuck working longer than planned, or you're stressed worrying about running out of money. You might be depleting your savings if you're retired faster than you can fill it, especially with how prices have risen in the last 5 years so much. If things don't improve, you may fear you'll continue to have losses that draw down your account. You get behind on your goals, maybe even question your ability as an investor. You might even fear you'll have to give up on investing and go back to work. Worst case scenario, you're going to run out of money during retirement. Now, with the options paycheck system to help you generate income, you can kind of break out of that. It's designed to help you generate income safely, consistently, in less than 15 minutes a day. And I think this is probably one of the most important points of the webinar. So pay attention to this. Write it down. If you want to be financially free, your main need is income. But to be financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income from your existing investments to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. So again, if you want to be financially free, you need to learn to generate income from your investments, enough to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. Now, whether you're still working, a couple of you are, retired, a lot of you, that ability to generate income from your investments is one of the most empowering skill sets you can have. Because when you have that ability to generate income from your investments, your life changes. If you're still working, you can increase your earning capacity. It's like you have a second job. If you're retired, you can have a consistent source of income as if you quit your job, but they kept paying you. It's like a tap you can turn on whenever you want. That allows you to do the things you want to do now and when you retire. When you've got a system to help you generate income, it can help you even retire younger. So again, I think this is one of the most important points of the presentation, so I'll say it one last time. When the income from your investments exceeds your living expenses, that's when you become financially free. For example, Brian is a client of ours. He's a great example of not only how easy it is to become proficient at drawing an income from the market, he's also a great example if you don't have a lot to start with. He said he had some health problems and needed a way to supplement his income. So by using the system, He was able to generate $23,000 in profits in 10 months. He had 100% winning trades, 31 out of 31 winning trades, using our most basic index system. And the key point here, this is not beginner's luck. He started with a $6,000 trading account. And how he got there was the system. The income system is what helped get him there in that 10-month time. Now, if you want to have that in your system, that system in your portfolio, the first thing you need to do is a bit of a strategic mindset shift. You're either going to continue being the gambler where you lose more than you win, or you're going to become an option seller and win more than you lose. Now, being an option seller is the way you can make consistent income, and it allows you to win even when you're wrong. Now, why do you want to be the casino or the house? Well, you want to be the casino or the house because number one, the house always wins. Number two, the house always wins because they control and stack probability in their favor. In fact, if you read about Vegas right now, they're trying to do that even more, right? You look at roulette wheels that have 3 greens. You look at the reduced payoff on things like blackjack, right? Slots are getting tighter. It's not going well, right? They want more money. You got to pay $3,000 for a room now. I'm being a little sarcastic there. We just got back from Vegas a few weeks ago, right? Everything is expensive. Bottle of pop is, $9. Ridiculous. So we want to be kind of like that in a nicer way. But that's what the options paycheck system is built around. It's built around you stacking the odds massively in your favor. So make a note of that. If you want to control your returns and your results, you need to know how to stack probability in your favor. And the first step of that is that shift from being the buyer of an option to being the seller. So let me talk about that. Let me explain that a little bit more. Bruce is a great example of that shift from gambling on stocks to being in the casino and controlling and stacking probability in his favor. He said prior to working with us, he had mainly taken stock tips from brokers. Now, he first focused on our SPX income system, which is our most basic trading system. You start with the SPX. He said he's not the most technical person in the world. But in the time he's been working with us, he's grown his account from 100 to 497,000 in 3.5 years. He told me he's achieving a 74% win percentage by following the rules of the options paycheck system. And the whole system takes him around 15 minutes a day. So let me show you how this works. This is an example of a typical trade you've been taught to make. You find a stock you like, you think it's going to go up. So either you buy shares of it, or maybe in the options world, you buy a call. Now, why do you buy a call option? Well, mainly because when you started learning options, it's what you were taught to do, right? That's the thing. Buying a call gives you the right to own the stock at a certain price and certain time. If you're bullish, that's what you want to do. But what ends up happening a lot of times when you do it, either the stock doesn't go up, or worse, it doesn't go up enough, and the call that you bought ends up expiring worthless. Has it ever happened to you? Well, that was my first couple of option trades and why I didn't like them. Well, what's the problem that's causing us to lose? Well, a lot of people feel that, well, maybe it was just a bad stock. I should be working on my stock selection skills. Now, some people feel it was the wrong strike price. Maybe they shouldn't have bought a strike closer. I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong expiration. Should have bought a 4-month option instead of a 30-day option. But let's concentrate on the real problem. If you've been losing money or had more losers and winners with the other systems, it's not your fault. It's because most of the systems on the planet teach you to be on the wrong side of the trade. You're taught to buy an option. But as a buyer, the probabilities are not on your side. And for most people, they end up buying and losing and buying and losing and buying and losing. Our options paycheck system teaches you a new way of thinking. You need to be a seller and not a buyer. This is how you get ahead of everyone else. This is how you put probability on your side. This is how you can win even if you're wrong. So let's take a closer look at selling options. Now, as a buyer, a typical trade gives you a 50-50 chance to be a winner, right? Because when you buy, the only way you make money is if the stock moves in your direction. Now, instead of having that buyer's mentality, we're going to shift to a seller's mentality. Instead of hoping a stock just goes up, as a seller, you're going to strategically set up your trade using probability. Probability will tell you where the stock is not likely to go. So instead of just needing a stock to basically just move up, we've created this area where it says all it has to do is stay above here and we can be profitable on the trade. I want you to think about that. The stock can go up, you make money. This is bullish. The stock can go sideways. You make money. It can even come down a little bit and gives you a chance to make money. Right from the start, probability is in your favor. And in a lot of trades, we can even increase that even more. We can choose lower prices. This where my arrow is, this is like the current price of the stock. Now look at all this area underneath it where we've got the chance to be right. We've got a 70% chance to be right, only a 30% chance to be wrong. And you can only do this as an option seller. As a seller, you're putting the probability of success in your favor. And this is the definition of what an income trade is all about. I define an income trade as one where you can make money even if you're wrong on direction. Now, you remember Bruce? He continues to trade with us every week. He's in our coaching group. He posted the other day, another day trading on the beach. Got my eyes on AMC and a cold beer. Life's good. Thank you, VectorVest and Ron, for giving us the tools to do what we do from anywhere. That's a great picture of financial freedom. Now, Mike was another one of our clients. He said he had dabbled with options, but lost on every one of his trades. Have you ever been there? Can you imagine how frustrating it's got to be to lose on every one of your trades? Well, eventually he just gave it up. He went back to the books to try to learn more about options, but said he never felt comfortable. He knew what he was doing because he didn't have any option criteria. He had no set criteria. All this knowledge, but no efficient way to make it work. So we worked together. I taught him the options paycheck system, being an option seller, and he said he became like an income machine. After learning the system, he went out and said he had 17 out of 19 winning trades, the profit of 12 grand in 4 months. And again, the key lesson here is going from the buyer to the seller, right? The gambler to the house. That's what turned his situation around. And he sent me a copy of his spreadsheet that he kept. And you can see right there, 17 winning trades out of 19. Look at the number of days to close: 7 days, 5 days, 4 days, 2 days, 7, 7. This is not a day trading thing. You're going to be in these trades typically 7 to 10 days. And that's what Mike's doing. He's pulling in about $1,000 every 7 to 10 days. Now, if you're like Mike, Bruce, and a lot of our clients, a lot of them start out just by trading the index, the SPX, to get their feet wet with this. And then they start applying it to stocks too. The SPX system, which is our most basic system, is one trade per week and has averaged about 2.3% per month over the last 10 years. You're not just learning how to trade options, you're creating a future where your income grows without adding hours to your day. Imagine turning that financial stress into confidence. You're knowing your money is working harder than ever, even when you're not. You're not looking for one big home run trade to become a millionaire. You're growing your account steadily each year. And that's really the key takeaway. We're going to have a lot of key takeaways today. But home runs look good. Singles are what win the games. It reminds me of the movie Moneyball, if you ever saw it. Hey, what do these guys have in common? They get on base. That's the idea, right? You get 3 guys on base, then hit a home run. It's even better, right? But that's what you want. You want a mix. You want guys that are getting on base and then maybe a home run occasionally. But these singles are what are going to enable you to never run out of money and be able to do the things that you want to do. Now, you've seen by flipping from buyer to seller, you can stack the odds in your favor significantly. We're going to stack them even more in your favor by understanding, capitalizing on the 3 most common buyers, or again, what we call the gambler's mistakes. And the first mistake that a lot of option traders do is they choose unrealistic strike prices. They choose strike prices that are so far away, the stock has no chance of hitting it. So this is a typical stock. Let's say you're bullish on it. Well, if you're bullish on it, you might just buy the stock. Or maybe, like we talked about before, you buy a call. And to get yourself the best chance of success, but it's still not a good chance, you typically buy an option that kind of matches the price of the stock. They're moderately expensive, but that's really your best chance. Well, what a lot of people do to save money is they go out and they buy their options way above the market. You're basically saying that this $217 stock has to go to at least 230 for you to make any money on this thing at all. You're basically getting a trade where the stock has to move up $13 or $14 a share before you make money. Why would you do that? Well, a lot of buyers do that because it's inexpensive. You can buy that option for like $50, right? Well, it's kind of like the lottery. Many buyers treat options like lottery tickets. Yeah, but I'll only lose $50. But you do that often enough and you can't win. Now listen, there's always going to be buyers out there who buy these options. That's what we're going to do. We're going to sell it to them. We're going to let them buy them by being the seller. We're going to take that action like the casino does. Because when we sell them these low probability scenarios, that gives us a high probability of winning. And the same goes for puts. Some people buy puts way below the market because maybe they own the stock and they want some cheap insurance. That's great. Or they think the stock is going to go down and they want to do a lottery pick on it. Listen, it doesn't matter why they're doing it. The fact is, there's always buyers out there who are buying these options. And since they're out there, they need someone to, dare I say, take their action, right? Like a casino. We're going to do it because when we do it, it gives me a 60 to 90% probability of success. Now, another mistake that buyers make is they choose their expirations for their options way too close. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you see steak on the discount rack, it's because it expires the next day, right? You got to go home and cook it immediately, or you have to throw it away because it rots. Same is true for options. What you see here is you are seeing how the option decays in price as it gets closer and closer and closer to expiration. Okay? So what happens is this is a 6-month time. Out here is 6 months. Let me see if I can get that. Oh, there we go. I was hitting the wrong button. Out here is 6 months. All the way down here is when the option expires and it has no value. The option really loses its value in this window right here. Let me get that off the screen. Less than about 45 days. That's when the option really starts to lose its value. Now, again, a lot of problem is people buy their options in this area because they're cheaper. The time decay is already eaten into the option. It's like the lottery ticket. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to sell our options in that window instead of buying. Okay? That's going to help us make money faster. Now, the prime window is we sell our options between 21 and 45 days. 21 to 45 days. Keep that in mind. So when I say we sell options, 21 to 45 days away. That's the sweet spot. We still got enough premium to make the trade low monetary risk, and we got time decay that's going to eat into those options even if we're wrong on the trade. Now, to put it on a graph, this is Home Depot. Doesn't matter when it was. I don't even remember what day it was, but this is Home Depot. Let's say you're bullish. You go out maybe a month out and you buy a call. Well, it doesn't matter because in that final 45 days, the option is losing its value very, very quickly. Now, when we sell options, we are going to enter the trade and get paid. Then we are going to exit the trade by paying. So let me explain this. If I enter the trade of an option and I sell it for $1,000, eventually I am going to have to close that position by paying someone to get out of it. Well, if I sold the option for $1,000 and now it's decayed in price and it's only worth 500, I can exit the trade by paying $500 and I keep the balance. That's how we make money. That time decay makes that money, makes that profit turbocharged, if you will. Again, we're going to be the seller to take advantage of that option decaying in value. Okay? Now, the third mistake that a lot of option buyers make is they simply pay too much for their options. They're called overpriced options. And not a lot of people understand this. So pay attention to this one if you're not sure what this is. We've got two stocks. They're basically the same price, 76.24, 76.36. They're like 10 cents apart, right? But even though the stocks are around the same price, look at the difference in option premium. Over on the left, $9.10. Now, if you've never bought an option before, that means that you have to pay $9.10 per share. It's 100 shares. If you bought one options contract that controls 100 shares, you pay $910 for that $75 call. Well, over on the right, that same $75 call on Treehouse is only $1.80. It's 180 bucks. Why is the option on the left over 4 times more expensive? It's because the option on the left has extremely high implied volatility. And when that volatility rises like that, options become very, very expensive. And when they become expensive, it becomes harder for you to make money on them as a buyer. Let me illustrate. Let's pretend that each of these stocks go up $8 a share. Okay, think about that. If you bought 100 shares of the stock, you'd make $800. but you're going to buy an option because you've heard that options are, low risk and they're great leverage and it's really great. Options are awesome. So you went out there and bought a call. Well, on the left, you actually lost money on your option trade. Can you imagine that? You were right. The stock went up $8 a share, but you lost money. But the guy over on the right that bought that option went from $180 in value to like $1,000 in value, right? He made 4 times his investment. Why was there such a difference? Because the option on the left had high volatility. The buyer paid too much for the premium. And because the premium was so expensive, the movement of the stock couldn't overcome it. Now, that mistake the buyer made turns into a great advantage for me as a seller. Because when I sell those expensive, overpriced options, not only do I get paid more by selling them, I also reduce my financial risk. And because the premiums are so high, I can reduce my monetary risk as well and even add more probability. I'll show you how that happens here in a few minutes. So think about that. These overpriced options allow you to stack probability even more on your side. Now, Bob is another one of the, and he's actually one of the most interesting stories I've seen. He said prior to working with us, he'd taken a bunch of the mistakes we talked about here. He said it cost him dearly. In fact, he ended up either broke or bankrupt 3 times, in his own words, came close to living under a bridge. The options paycheck system helped Bob turn his situation around in as little as 4 months. He learned to turn those mistake liabilities into strategies to control and stack probability in his favor. In 4 months, he grew his account by 71% and achieved a 79% winning trade percentage. Remember, if you want to learn to control your returns and results, you got to learn how to control and stack probability in your favor. Now, let me ask you a question. You could type this in the chat. Have you ever made any of those buyer's mistakes? Do me a favor, just type a yes or no in the chat. You don't have to say which one, just a quick yes or no. Yep, I see it too. Richard, Scott, Maritz, you guys were the first ones to pop in there. But yeah, listen, we've all made those mistakes as well. Okay, we've all made those mistakes. Now, it's not your fault. You were just taught a broken system. Now that you know you want to be an option seller and you're going to avoid and capitalize on those common mistakes that buyers make, let's look at how to trade with very little risk. And a lot of people, when they hear the word options, and especially the term selling options, they immediately think it's risky, right? Ron, you say 60 to 90%, but one bad trade wipes out all my winners. Well, if that's happening to you, you're not using the options paycheck system. You're not preserving your capital, okay? Because one bad trade should never wipe out a bunch of winners. If that happens, it becomes very hard to recover your losses. It takes a long time. To do this right, you have to have a built-in protection system. You need to make sure you're taking care of risk management before you actually open the trade. Because when you can preserve your capital by selecting the best stocks, setting up your trades in a way that reduces risk, both monetary and probability, it allows you to preserve and grow your capital. Like I said earlier, home runs look good, but singles are what win the games. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked is, can I trade options from my IRA? A client of ours, John, grew his IRA over 112% in 1 year using our options paycheck system. John said he tried and struggled with trading for some time before working with us. He learned to follow the system and turned his inconsistent results into predictable monthly income. He said in 12 months, he enjoyed 85% winning trades and more than double the size of his IRA while spending no more than 15 minutes per day on his trading. Now, the options paycheck system makes sure you reduce your risk before you even open the trade. First, we choose stocks that are very low risk. We have a specific criteria, but in general, if we're bullish, we focus on good stocks that are rising in price, like you see here. Then, and this is the key, instead of selling an option naked, we sell it with protection. So let me show you how to do this. Now, if you just go out there and sell an option, the traditional option selling system leaves you with all of this risk down here. But the paycheck system is going to reduce your risk to just that small amount. So let me show you how this works. This is a graph of a typical stock we'd be bullish on. Okay, it's a beautiful graph. It's understandably bullish on a stock that looks like this. Traditionally, people would go out and just buy the stock at the right price, right? Or maybe they'll buy a call at that price. Well, not doing that anymore, right? You're the seller. So here's what you're going to do. If you think a stock is going to go up, you are going to go underneath the current stock's price and you are going to sell a put. Now, when you sell the put, you're going to get paid. When you sell something, they pay you for it, right? You're going to get paid $200 per option contract. So if you sold 10 of these, you'd collect $2,000. Now that's great, right? But let me talk about a couple caveats here. When you sell an option, it's not like you sell something on Facebook Marketplace and the person comes and picks it up and it's done. An option is more like, the best way I can describe it is like an insurance policy, right? You pay your premiums to your car insurance company, and for that premium, the car insurance company protects your car. If after the end of, let's say, 3 months, you pay your deductibles quarterly, or you pay your premiums quarterly. At the end of 3 months, if you don't have a claim, then they cut the premium, your policy expired worthless, and we go on and on and on. Selling an option's like that. When you sell an option, you take a stock promise, maybe to buy stock, maybe to sell stock, that you have to exit later on. At some point, that contract is either going to expire because the date expires, or we're going to pass that and close that transaction with somebody else. Okay? Either way, when you sell an option, you're entering the trade by getting paid, and then we're going to exit the trade later by paying our way out of the position, hopefully at a lower price. All right? So we sell this option, we collect $200 per contract. But if the stock moves way down, this is that one bad trade wipes out a bunch of gains scenario. We don't want that. So we want to protect ourselves. We want to put some downside protection on. So we're going to use a built-in protection plan. And what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit lower in price, and we are going to buy a put as insurance. Now that insurance costs me something. Okay? That insurance, let's say, costs you $100. Now, when you sold the option, you got paid $200. You're taking $100 of that and you're buying an insurance policy. That's going to leave you getting paid $100 to place this trade. If you did it on 10 contracts, you'd get paid $1,000. Now, how does the insurance work? Well, let me explain the worst case scenario. When you sell a put, you are saying that you are willing to buy the stock, in this case, at $135 a share. Okay? So if the market goes way down, and let's say the stock's trading at $100, you may be forced to buy the stock at $135 when the stock is really low. But when you buy a put, that gives you the right to sell the stock. So I may be forced to buy it at $135, but now I can turn around and sell it to somebody else for $130. Even if the stock is at $10 a share, I've locked my risk in. Now, that is what can happen. I've never had that happen in 15 years of selling options because we don't let the trades get to that point. We exit them way before that would ever happen. But that's kind of like the worst case scenario and why we buy the insurance policy. Because in case something catastrophic happens, that insurance is kind of like my disaster. So when I place this trade on 10 contracts, I get paid $1,000. Now what happens is this, right? If the stock goes up, which is what I think, what I'm hoping, I think it'll do, what happens is the price of those options are going to go lower. As the stock moves higher, the options that you traded are going to lose their value. Since you started the transaction with a credit, when they lose their value, they can eventually go to zero and you make all the money in the trade. You can make $1,000 in that one I just showed you. If the market goes sideways, the exact same thing happens. The options still decay. You still make money. And as long as they stay above 135, they still decay and we can still make money. And if they go below 135, we can exit the trade and we would take a very small proportional loss. So let me show you a trade that I set up here. I want to show you some trades I did in the last year with my clients, just to give you kind of a better understanding of how we set these things up. Now I'm going to show you some numbers now, so pay attention to these. Now, when the market is bullish, we place bullish income trades. Now, earlier I told you guys that we sell options 21 to 45 days away. That was kind of like a pro tip. Here's the next pro tip. We sell options that give us at least a 60% probability of winning. Okay? So, this is an example. This is DRI, Darden Restaurants. It's in an uptrend, going from lower left to upper right, so I'm kind of bullish on the stock. I think it's going to go up, right? So what do? What I do is I go out and I open up my option broker. Now, most option brokers have this data. This data is not like proprietary to us. Option brokers, when you look at the option chain, they're going to give you strike prices, and some of them give you the probability right next to it. Thinkorswim does this. I use Thinkorswim. I know that E-Trade does it. IB has a way you can get it too. But right now, the stock is $203. Well, remember what I told you if you think a stock is going to go up? You're going to go underneath the stock and sell a put. Now, what put are you going to sell? Are you going to sell this one A, which is a $200 put, gives you $3 to be wrong, and that gives you a 55% chance to be right. You have a little bit of an advantage there. Are you going to go down to B, where you have a 64% chance to be right? That's at 195. That's essentially give you an $8 cushion to be wrong. Or would you go down to C, 185, which is essentially giving you a $20 cushion to be wrong? Now, if I approach you and said, hey, do you want to be 55% right, 64 or 80%, without knowing any other metrics of the trade, which one would you pick? Would you choose 55, 64, or 80, not knowing any other metrics? Type it in the chat. Yeah, Richard, you were first. You would be 80, right? Why not? 80%. Tim, Scott, yeah, I would be too. Now, this is where the options paycheck system comes in. Because like anything in life, too much of a thing is usually bad, right? Glass of wine every night is supposed to be good for you. If you drink 3 bottles of wine every night, you got a problem. Eight ounce glasses of water are good for you a day. If you drink 40 of them, you're going to have a problem, right? Probability is good for you, but too much probability and you're going to have a problem. Okay? Here's the problem. If you take that 80% option trade, you may be right 80% of the time. But let's say you made $100 every time you're right. But then when you're wrong, what happens if you lose 1,000? 8 winning trades, you make 800 bucks. 2 losers, you lose 2 grand. What good was being 80% right if you didn't make any money? Now, that, that to me really said a lot to me as a trader. Because, one of the things in my trading career, and I get this question a lot, is how successful. I don't get it as much as I used to, because I think people are knowing now. But back in the 90s and 2000s, everybody wanted to ask, what's the win percentage of your system, whether I was trading commodities or not? And I would look and say, listen, win percentage is overrated. Ask me what my risk to reward ratio is. Who cares if I'm 70% right and I'm not making any money? But if I'm 50% right and I'm making 30% a year, that's pretty darn good. So probability is not all it's cracked up to be. What we got to do, and I'm going to use the word that we used earlier, we have to find a sweet spot. That sweet spot is in that 60% range. Okay? 55 is good, but it doesn't give us enough probability. The risk will be great. The risk control will be great at 55%, but we're not going to get enough probability. That 64% is really where we want to be around, that 60%. Remember the slide? We picked greater than 60%. So this trade, I sold a 195. So I sold a 195 put. This is an actual trade that I did this year. And then I went a little bit lower and I bought a 190 put as my protection. Now, this trade has a built-in protection plan. Okay? If I'm wrong, I'm going to exit the trade if it drops below 195. I'll exit it. The biggest risk I could lose is 98. So if it went all the way down through 190 and went down to like 100 bucks a share, the most I could really only lose in that thing is about 98 bucks per contract. So what happened? Well, it took about 2 weeks. The market went up. It didn't go up immediately. It went up, kind of went down a little bit, then went back up. So when I took this trade, when I set my trades up, remember I told you earlier I sell an option? I sold options which paid me about $1,500. Okay? When I entered the trade, I got paid $1,500 to place this trade. When I exited the trade 2 weeks later, I basically paid $750 to exit the trade, which means I keep the difference of $750. That's why you see it up here, I made $712. That's after commission, by the way. So I paid like, $30 to place the trade. Not too bad. But that's kind of how that works. All right. So now on the flip side of that, when the market's bearish, you place bearish income trades. So here's an example from last year where the stocks were going down. We had Target starting in the upper left, moving to the lower right. All right. So I think the stock is going to go down. Now, kind of flip the script. I want to look above the stock price because I want this thing to go down, but I want to make room in case it goes against me. So again, I go to my option chain, I look at my options, and I see that the stock right now is around 131. If I go up to the 135 option, gives me about $4 in room, I would be 64% probability on that trade. If I go up to 140, gives me about a $10 room to be wrong, I get about 76% probability. If I go up to 145, I get about 85% probability in the trade. Now, which one would you pick in this scenario? Type in your answers in the chat. Let me take a look. All right. I see lots at 64%, 64%, 64%. I see Scott, Tim, you're at 76%. So all of you are answering basically B and C. Now listen, B and C are both correct. Either of those options would have been right. Well, Ron, in a situation where you could say either option is right, well, first off, how do you determine the options are right? Well, you have to do kind of a little test of risk control. If I do this trade, what's my reward? What's my risk? If I do this trade, what's my reward? What's my risk? And I'm going to take the highest percentage that I can get and still maintain a proper risk reward balance. And in this particular case, it was 76%. And the reason why it was 76% in this particular case is because the options were extremely expensive. And when the options get extremely expensive, remember how I told you that can add to your probability? You could stack probability more in your favor. When those options are super duper expensive, I can be, greater probability. So that trade right there is a little bit different. This is called a bear call spread. Bear because we're bearish, calls because now we're using calls, and spread because, they're $5 difference in prices. So this trade, I sold a 140 call. I bought a 145 call. I want the stock to go down, but if it goes sideways, I'm okay. And as long as it doesn't cross 140, I can still make money on this trade. And in fact, this took about 7 days, same idea, but I made about $765 in that trade. Okay, so not a bad particular trade. What I want to do really quick right here is I kind of want to show you something. Bear with me just a second. I keep a spreadsheet of all of the trades that I take throughout the year. And you can see now my trades start at line 4. So I've taken about 111 trades this year so far. Out of my 111 trades, I've got 63 winners, 45 losers. I've been right 58% of the time. Okay? My average win is 743. Now, this is the key. When we talk about risk, my average win is 743 per trade based on 100,000 in capital. So if you were trading 50,000, you can knock that in half. Your average winner would be like, 375. My average loser is 732. I told you that your typical duration is 7 to 10 days. My average days in trade is 9.6, and I'm up around 14% per the year with my stock trades. Now, if you're wondering, well, Rod, you said earlier like 20%. It's actually more than that. If I look at my SPX trades, which I do in conjunction with that, I am actually up around 15% in the S&P. So when you combine that 15%, and this, by the way, is up to date through August or through October now, I'm up 15% and I'm up about 14%. So through October, I'm up about 29% for the year with my stocks and my S&P trades. And by the way, if you look at my S&P trades, my average winner on the S&P is $1,452 and my average loss is $1,200. So it doesn't matter. I'm still making money and I'm still having lower losses than gains. And I'm maintaining on the stocks about a 60% win rate. Okay. That's real. That's what I've done this year with my coaching group. Now, another client I work with is Jim. He said that, his results were inconsistent. He felt unsatisfied. So he went with me. I taught him the same system. And he said, hey, it was like a switch, kind of like Mike did earlier. He had 21 winners in a row, no losers. In 8 months, he averaged 76% return. And his average trade, 8 days long. So that's what you're going to see consistent over people. Now, again, my goal is 60%. These guys are getting 70%. They're getting some good streaks. But can you imagine how that feels to go from, inconsistent to where you rattle that off? Now, think about it. What would an income system like this allow you to do, right? For those of you that are retired, maybe help the family out with some extra money, maybe go on some extra vacations, play more golf, buy a better car, I don't know, whatever. Maybe for those of you that are still working like me, right? Send my kids to private school, pay for their education, put it in the 501 or the whatever it's called, the 529 thing that my wife contributes to for the kids' college, right? What would this income system allow you to do if you implemented it and it worked? And again, we said before that buying is gambling. Selling is about controlling your risk and putting the odds of success in your favor. The options paycheck system makes sure you have that guaranteed maximum risk. And it all goes back to whether you'd rather be the gambler or the casino. Remember, the house always wins in the end. If you want to make consistent income each month and do it safer than buying and selling stocks, option selling is the path. Now, I want to put this together. I want to show you how you can have a bulletproof system that you can do in as little as 15 minutes a day. Now, my students who've done this, they told me this is one of the most important things they learned. Because the big question is, how much time is it going to take me? It's really a good question. Well, there's a challenge to this. There's thousands of stocks out there. You got to find the right stock, use the right option strategy. When do you get in? When do you get out? What expiration? What strike price? What do you do if it goes against you? And when you start rattling all that stuff off, you feel like it's trying to find a needle in a haystack because there's so much information out there, you don't know where to look for it. You spend hours putting trades together or going from guru to guru looking for advice. Without a good system, you're trading blindly. You're like a mouse running through the maze, bumping into wall after wall. You don't know where to go. It's stressful. It's disheartening. What you want with the right system is to get good trades and reliable income in as little as 15 minutes a day. And listen, if you think you're too busy, remember, time is your most valuable resource. This system requires just 15 minutes a day. It's designed to give you back control of your time and money. Because what could you do with that freedom? But to get it, you need a system, and not just any system, a straight line system, a simple way to know when to place your trades, how to find them, how to set them up, how to manage them. So let me walk you through the options paycheck system. Now, step number one, we start at the top with market direction. A lot of traders just ignore this. They go out and start placing trades. We're going to be placing trades that are either bullish or bearish. So you have to have a way to know the market's direction. Now, today I showed you an example of each bullish and bearish, but you're going to be focusing on one trade at a time. When the market's in an uptrend, you're going to do bullish. When the market's in a downtrend, you're going to do bearish. You have to have a timing signal to tell you this. We have a timing signal built into our system to tell you this. Once you know the market direction, we got to pick the right stocks. We want to find stocks that are highly likely to move in the same direction as the market. That stacks probability even more. So we don't, read IBD for this. We don't watch CNBC. We analyze them. We look for fundamentals and trend analysis. Okay. Our options paycheck system saves a lot of time. We have pre-built searches in our VectorVest platform that we use that find good stocks with good fundamentals or bad stocks with bad fundamentals. Good trends going up over a year, going up over 3 months, going down over a year, going down over 3 months, down day over day. We have searches that can find those in just a couple of seconds. Now that you got your stocks, we got to find the best ones for these options income trades. Remember earlier how we looked at volatility and that had a big effect on the options price? We're going to focus on selling options with volatility in the upper end of the range, but we don't stop there. To take even more risk out of the trade, we're going to filter out those with upcoming earnings. Earnings can move the stock crazy. We don't want to be involved in that. That takes a lot of risk off the table when we get out of earnings areas. We also make sure our expirations are in that sweet spot. That way, if we're wrong in the trade, the options are losing their money anyway. Again, you can use tools from a broker to help this. We happen to have a proprietary search that finds these again in just a second. Now that you got to set up your trade, right? You found the right stock, you got the good volatility out there. We're going to pick the one that gives us the right amount of probability. We're looking for a minimum of a 60% chance to be right. based off the strike prices, just like you saw for Darden and for Target. But we also have to monitor and make sure that the risk reward is proper. The one thing you have to remember is not every good stock is a good income trade. We're looking for that magical balance of probability, high priced options, good risk reward to get this done. Now that you got your trade picked out, you're ready? We got to learn what to do if the trade goes for you or against you. And this has to be done before you place the trade. I don't want you sitting in a trade feeling frozen like a deer in the headlights because you don't know what to do. We have rules for profits. We take profits at predetermined levels. We can set those up in advance with our broker. If a trade goes against us, we teach a simple adjustment strategy that you can use if you want to that helps minimize the losses. And we also know when to exit the trade if we're wrong. And in a lot of brokers, I can place that trade and do it automatically. That's the way it's automatic and very unemotional for me. Lastly, a tool for speed and proficiency. You want a way to do this quickly because you don't want to be spending all day, right? You want a tool that allows you to do these things and it's something you're comfortable using. A lot of brokers out there have great tools. Again, I use Thinkorswim. TradeStation, from what I understand, I've not used it, has great tools. I know that E-Trade has good tools. Fidelity has good tools. I've used them before. IB. We happen to have proprietary tools from VectorVest called Options Pro, and that saves me a lot of time to do this. Now, speaking of time, we talked already about Mike and Jim and a couple others, but each of them said they're getting the results in about 15 minutes a day, and so is Hugh. He told me one of his biggest struggles was finding a system that was not only working, but was efficient. He didn't want to spend all day in front of his computer. He said he didn't have the proper balance between trading and free time. There was no balance there. Are you like that too? Do you spend too much time doing things you don't want to do and not enough time doing the things you want? Now that Hugh has implemented it, learned it, that system of selling options, he's more confident. He has more free time. He's able to have more fun. He said in his first 43 trades, he had 38 winners, returned over $26,000 in 4 months. So let's do this. I want you to take your pen. I want you to put a little star next to the part of the system where you're really good. So for example, if you have a quick way to find a list of stocks likely to go in the direction of the market, put a little star there. But if there's an area where something isn't working or you're still learning or maybe you need some work, put a frowny face there. So if you don't know how to manage a repair trade, put a frown there. Don't overthink it. I'm going to give you about 15 seconds and give yourself a star or a frown. Now, I'm willing to bet maybe only 1 in 100 people will ever learn this. Now, do me a favor, share with me in the chat, what areas do you need to work on? Type them in the chat for me. All right. Trade management, Mark says. Comment, I don't see the chat. You're in the chat. You just type your comment right where you see it. Trip, you say I'm brand new to this, so everything. Stock selection, John. Okay with the top two, not great with the rest, Marguerite. Tim, selection and speed. Stock selection, Anthony. Trade management, Robert. Option selection, trade management, trade risk management, Agabuna. Sandra, trade management, stock selection. All right, here's the key. If you want to do this and you want to get the income, you have to get stars all the way down. So I don't know what your reason to coming today's webinar is, but I'm going to make a few guesses. Maybe you've been trading blindly. You don't know what to do. You feel like you're bumping into wall after wall. It's left you with inconsistent results. You make some money, but then you maybe give it back on your next trade, just like Jim said he did. Maybe you're having loss after loss, and those small losses are killing your portfolio. Maybe the money coming in isn't exceeding the money going out. Maybe you're just not where you want to be. Now, today, I showed you the secret to fixing that. And again, it's a secret I bet only 1 in 100 investors will ever know. And now you're one of them. You saw it's possible to win even if you're wrong, that you can do it with a little risk. And I even showed you my live trading results, so you know you're not risking way more than you're making. It's even less risk than buying and selling stocks. You saw the system that's going to help you get consistent income every month. And I showed you just a few of the many people who use the system every day so they never have to worry about their retirement again. You saw over and over the secret to generating that income is that shift from being the gambler to being the casino. You're going to be that one investor out of 100 who knows that secret. That means there's 99 other investors out there who continue to do things wrong. They'll be buying options, making all the mistakes we talk about. You can't stop them from doing it. There's always going to be those investors out there who buy options incorrectly. Let them be the gambler. As long as there's those gamblers out there, They need the market, right? They need the casino. We need to take their action because the house always wins in the end. The option paycheck system teaches you how to stack the probability of success in your favor, just like it taught Brian and Bruce and Bob and Jim and Hugh and John. So you've seen how the system works. You've heard others just like you've achieved their freedom from it. The question is no longer can it work, but are you ready to make it work for you? So again, I mentioned I would talk you through if you're interested in implementing this right away and how to get further help. Well, let's talk about it. How do we implement this in our system the quickest? Well, you have a choice. Option number one is to do nothing. Stay where you are. If you already have enough to retire, you're not worried about running out of money, then maybe you don't need the paycheck system. But if you are interested in making some extra income every month, you got two other options. Option two is to do it alone. You can try to learn how the option trades work, figure out the direction of the market, learn how to analyze thousands of stocks, find the best ones to trade, hope you pick the right one, you manage it right. If you're willing to work hard, spend hours in front of your computer, and you're willing to learn by trial and error, you might be able to pull it off. Option number three is to let us just guide you through it. I'll guide you through each piece of the paycheck system, and in just a few weeks' time, you'll have a simple system to follow that doesn't take a lot of time. So, of those three options, ask yourself what's going to be easier. We found that there's two types of people. Person number one is someone who dreams about their financial goals but never take action to do anything to make it happen. Person number two is someone who's serious about their financial future. You're ready to take action when you see an opportunity in front of you. Since you're dedicated enough to be with me to this point, I'm willing to bet that you're person number two, and that makes you the perfect candidate to get started on your first options paycheck. So let me tell you what we put together for you. The Options Paycheck Experience is the most comprehensive program for generating consistent income using option spreads, even if you've never done this before. The Paycheck Experience is the only implementation program around that teaches you the secret to generating consistent income with options. Because we show you how to find the trades, how to set them up right, manage them properly to generate income, and how to make sure you're doing it safer and consistently in any market condition. So after going through this experience, you're going to know exactly how calls and puts work, along with all the fancy terms, so you no longer have to fear options. You're going to know clear signals telling you when to trade bullish, bearish, or even not to trade. You're going to be able to quickly identify the stocks that make the best candidates for income trades using a rules-based approach. That's going to free up a lot of time in your life. You're going to set up income trades that give you a base 60% or better success rate. You're going to have a trade management game plan in place prior to placing your trade. Okay? You're going to know how to handle any situation the market throws at you. You're going to learn how to confidently enter and exit trades with your broker, whether it's your first trade or your 500th. But you're going to implement a system to safely and consistently generate income. Now, the course itself is 8 modules long. We made them so each module builds on the one prior. So as you go through the modules, you're getting closer and closer to the end goal, which is a system for consistent income. Now, the first two modules are what we call the option income foundation. A lot of people try to build a successful income portfolio, but they base it on a very weak foundation of knowledge. It's like building a skyscraper in a sandbox, you know what I mean? We understand what it's like to learn options. We've been there. That's why it pays to learn from a team who's done this before. The outcome that you're going to get in module one is you're going to know exactly how calls and puts work. That way you're using them properly and confidently in your trades. You're going to know which option terms are important. You're going to know which ones you can ignore. That way you're not wasting time or getting frustrated with all this, extraneous information. In module two, you're going to learn what the spreads are that we use and how they work. You're going to have all the confidence that you need to start building your income system around these trades. Now that you've got that foundation of good options knowledge, we're going to lay out the step-by-step plan starting with module three. Now, each step along the way, we're going to be stacking probability in your favor and reducing risk. And that starts with knowing when to trade. This is the module where you're going to learn market trends. So instead of looking at everything, we're going to teach you when to be bullish. We're going to teach you when to be bearish. And even when you're not supposed to do any trades. In module four, once you got the direction of the market, we're going to teach you how to find stocks that are moving in the same direction. And again, this is going to stack probability even more in your favor. You're going to know how to quickly find the best stocks and indexes that give you the highest probabilities. Now that you got your list of stocks, we're going to narrow it down to the best option candidates that are going to give you the highest probability for profits. By using the rules in this module, you're going to make sure that you're getting those expensive options to use. Okay? Narrowing it down to just the best candidates. You're going to continue to stack probability and reduce risk in module 6 by the way you set your trades up. Here, you're going to make sure your trade has that perfect combination of risk and reward, and you're going to know exactly where to set your strikes. Great trades, they don't happen by accident. They happen because of careful planning and strategically setting them up right from the start. Now that you got your high probability trade picked out, you're ready? In Module 7, you're going to learn to have your plan in place so you know when to exit the trade, not only to take profits, but to minimize losses. You're never going to be frozen like a deer in the headlights again. No matter what the market throws at you, you will know how to react. That takes a lot of stress off the table. And then lastly, in Module 8, now that you got the best stock, you found the trade, you put it together right, you got your management game plan, now we got to place it. This is going to break down the trade execution phase into simple steps that you're going to commit to muscle memory in no time. Now, I know some of you are beginners, so we put everything that we do into a checklist. And then earlier, I actually showed you my spreadsheet for my trades. This spreadsheet we're going to give to you. All the rules are in here, and better yet, it does all the math for you. You put in your account size, it'll tell you if the risk is too high or the risk is perfect. It'll tell you how many contracts to trade. It keeps track of how much risk you have on the table. It's like an automated thing that just lets you do the work, does the work for you and lets you just do the trading. Now, I know brokers can be overwhelming sometimes. I happen to use Thinkorswim. I've got a lot of tutorials for how to do some of this in Thinkorswim. I also have some videos from like, E-Trade and Fidelity and IB. We're going to try to help you the best we can to make you feel comfortable placing these trades. Okay? Now, before we talk about the price, I want to make this low risk. We offer a 100% money back guarantee on the course. Go through the entire course. If you're not satisfied we taught you how to profit using options, notify us in a week of finishing the course, get all your money back. It's completely no risk. The only caveat, you have to actually do the course. That's all we ask. Do the course. Watch the videos. Come to the live sessions if you want to. If you can't do live, it's okay. Watch the recordings. But you have to do it. If you do it, you're not satisfied, all you got to do is notify us within a week of finishing the live curriculum. We'll give you your money back. It's as simple as that. All we ask is you do the course. That's it. And you're learning a system that's averaged 3% per month over the last decade. One of our clients, Joe, sent me an email and said, I'm writing a thank you for teaching the options paycheck course. I took your class last fall and wanted to let you know how I've done. I keep a journal to document every trade, and I've profited on 239 trades out of the 350 I've taken, a 68% win rate. I've profited over 100,000 in this time. What's more exciting is that my knowledge and experience have grown. I've profited over 50,000 in the last six weeks. My success rate has been 78% over the last 6 weeks, and only take trades with 2-to-1 or better risk reward. Now, this is an example. Joe trades a lot. In my 10 months this year, I've traded 110 trades essentially. Joe's placed 350. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. This system scales however much you want to trade. I only want to trade for a couple hours a week. I took if you count my S&P trades this week, I've probably taken about 135 trades this year, right? That averages out to about 10 a month, 10, 12 a month. That's it. So you make the course what you want of it. If you want to make one trade a week with the indexes, great. If you want to place 300 trades a year, great. Whatever you'd like. Now, before I tell you more about it, I want to point something out. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, so it's not something where you should expect to become a millionaire in the next 24 hours. This is serious. It requires some effort on your part. So if you can't commit to it, then don't do it. It's not for you. It's for serious people who take their investing seriously and who are ready to jump in and do this. So if you're serious about it, ready to do the work and get the results, then the options paycheck experience is perfect for you. It's step-by-step training to go from option basics to a full complete income generating system. The training modules by themselves are worth the price of the course, but we got some great bonuses for you as well. Bonus number 1 is what we call the mastery package. So the mastery package includes module by module mastery sessions. Each week, we're going to have 2 mastery sessions, one dedicated to each module. Now, in a couple minutes, I'm going to give you the schedule of the course. But the way the course works is you're going to watch the modules from a recording. Then, during the week, we're going to get together every week and discuss 2 modules. So we're going to do 2 modules a week, starting with the end of the month, next week, and we're going to do 4 weeks of learning the modules. During that module mastery time, we're going to do 2 mastery sessions live a week and a weekly 1-hour Q&A. Okay? All recorded. In case you can't view the live sessions, it's okay. We're going to give you a dedicated email. So if you need help, you send the email right to me and the team. That way you don't have to go through the support at VectorVest queue. We're going to give you access to VectorVest if you don't have it, and Options Pro if you don't have it. That's going to start in accordance with the live curriculum. You're going to get basically November and most of December access to VectorVest and Options Pro as part of your tuition. Okay, so you can try that software out. You don't need the software necessarily, but we let you try it out to see if it would help you in your trading if you're interested in it. Now, after the mastery is over, we're going to do an implementation month together. Okay, so in the implementation month, we're going to do live trading sessions. You're going to see me find, set up, select trades. You're going to be a part of my coaching group. Okay, where I've done all my trades at VectorVest for the last like 8 years. We also, during the implementation month, along with the live trading sessions, we have office hour sessions. These office hour sessions where we're just going to be repeating the process over and over again, finding trades. You know, the previous clients of mine have said this is their favorite part because this is where you get to see me working the system, asking me questions along the way. You know, a lot of things are kind of solved in the implementation month when you start seeing it actually put to work. Now, I mentioned I trade both stocks and I trade the SPX. A lot of my clients just put the SPX paycheck system to work first, and then they start implementing on stocks. The SPX paycheck system, 15 minutes a week. It's one trade a week. And again, you're going to get access to my live SPX sessions. So I'll teach you the SPX paycheck system, and then you can do that as well. All right. My teammate Brian taught this to his 14-year-old daughter at the time, and she could do it. It's very simple. So recap, you get the options paycheck training program, 8 training modules. You can get videos for everything, cheat sheets, checklists, quizzes, slides, everything. The mastery package, the implementation month, the SPX paycheck. So the total value of that is about $54.75. But here's what I want to do. Here's the opportunity in front of you. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, work with a couple hundred people who are serious about generating income. And if you're one of them, we're going to create this income system in your portfolio. Even if you've never had success with options, we're going to do this together. You can do this. So if you want to join me, have me take you by the hand and help you install this in your portfolio, then instead of that $5,000, we've got an early bird price of $12.95. Now, because you've spent about an hour with me so far, hour and 10 minutes, I want to do something special for those of you live on the webinar. If you order it while we're live, you're going to be able to get it for the lowest price we offer. That's $9.95. Okay, so instead of paying $12.95, if you order before the end of the live webinar, $9.95. You're going to get the full course, the same thing I talked about, for $9.95. Okay, now that's only if you register before we finish up today, because once we finish up, we go back to $12.95. So if you want to order it, just go to optionspaycheck.com, and I'll show you the order page after we're done. So listen, $9.95. I know you can think of it as a lot of money, but it's really a value. You are getting a lot for $9.95. You're getting the mastery session, the implementation. We're going to do trades together. And you got to ask yourself, listen, how much is it costing you not to do this? How much money are you going to lose out by trying to learn by trial and error? How much time and energy are you going to spend when you can just let me walk you through it over 8 weeks? How would your life be different if you implement this and it worked? You know, there's a saying that the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago. You can be sitting under it now enjoying the shade. Do you know when the second best time is? It's today. Finish off 2025. Plant that tree. Let it grow in 26. Sit under the shade. It's going to last you for a lifetime. Okay? It's not too late to start. This is going to be one of those deciding days in your life. Are you going to take action, set yourself up for a more secure retirement? Or are you going to watch it pass by and say, and look back and say, dang it, I should have started it back then? Make the right decision. Don't miss the opportunity. I look forward to working with all of you in class. So again, go to optionspaycheck.com. Price is $9.95. That's the lowest price we offer the course unless you've already taken it before and you want to do a retake. We'll talk about that later. But go to optionspaycheck.com. Get yourself registered. If you register right now, within an hour, you will have access to the course. You'll be able to watch the modules. You won't get Options Pro and VectorVest yet, but you'll be able to watch the modules. Get prepared for that first week of live material. Okay? Now, before we break into the Q&A, I want to do a couple quick points here. I talked about the live sessions. What if you miss one? When are they? The live curriculum starts next Tuesday, so 8 days from today. Tuesday the 28th. Okay? You're going to be invited to that session, and we're going to lay out the principles, the process, what we signed up for, and then by next Wednesday, I want you to watch Module 1 in the university site. We're going to do a mastery for Module 1. That means we're going to go over the key principles with you. We're going to do the quiz with you. We are going to do the assignment walkthrough, and we're just going to make sure that you have no questions about Module 1. Then on Thursday, we're going to do the same for Module 2. And then on Friday at noon, we're going to have a Q&A where you can ask any question you want about Module 1 and 2. Then you can see the following week, we do 3 and 4. These classes are all at 4:30. The one over here in blue is at noon. Then the third week, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. And you can see how through the month of the last week of October and almost the last week of November, we're going to do the 8 modules together. Then the last week of November, we start in on the live trading. 11 a.m. on Monday for my SPX trade, 2 p.m. for my stock trades, and then office hours at 4:30. So we wait till the market shuts down. And you might be asking, Ron, how can you find live trades when the market's closed? We find trades that day that we look for to place orders for the next day. I will place orders at night in anticipation to get filled the next day. And then again, we do that on Friday at noon as well. Everything that you see here in November and December, these are all recorded. Everything's recorded. So if you miss a live class, you can watch the recording. It's no big deal. Okay? So through November and December, we are going to teach you the system, and then we're going to implement it with you to make sure you are ready to trade on your own. Greg was another graduate of the class, and he said, prior to the course, I struggled with knowing how to protect myself when the market was moving away from me. I feared if I didn't fix it, I'd lose more of my portfolio than I could afford to lose. After taking the options paycheck, I feel better prepared to trade and much more confident. In the first month, I made a net of $10,200 from my options income trading with 9 winners and only 1 loser. I would absolutely recommend the course. It was well done, very educational and informative. It's an excellent educational opportunity I'm thankful I took advantage of. Don't let fear hold you back. You'll make more in the first month than you paid to take the course. I was one of those fencers who didn't take this course for a long time when I saw it offered. I lost a lot by not taking the program sooner. I'm grateful and appreciative of the work that was put into making the training program available. Now, I noticed that some of you are beginners, and you're like kind of thinking, well, Ron, I've never done options before. How much experience do I need? We've polled our prior attendees, and 85% of the course graduates said you could be successful with little to no prior options experience. Listen, if you know what a call is and you know what a put is, but you don't know anything more than that, you're golden. We'll teach you everything else. We will even teach you what a call and a put is, by the way, if you don't know what a call and put is. But it is kind of helpful to have a little bit of, I know what an option is. I know that if I buy a call, it means I can own the stock. Very, very basic information. Just another list of our prior clients who attended the course. Cheryl says, I've surpassed my expectation. I don't need the money back guarantee. I tripled my investment. Frank, after taking the course, I have a profit of $7,300. Before the course, it was a crapshoot. Now I believe in the option trades I'm doing. Cam says, I made back the initial investment so many times over. It's a small part of my portfolio, but it's probably the most profitable. Jake says, I finally found a consistent method of making money with a high probability of success. And again, just a couple more recent students. Neville, thanks for a wonderful course. Within a short time, you've opened our eyes to many things. Your experience, enthusiasm, your desire to teach comes through easily. You put a lot of thought in the training manual, already paid for the tuition with a few Delta 35 SPX trades. David said, this is the best course I've attended in all my years with VectorVest. It's 99. You've eliminated my fear of trading options. The manner in which you presented the material is truly outstanding. And then Waleed said the course helps people like me develop self-confidence. If you have fears about options trading, you definitely need the course. Since the start of the course, I've done a few SPX trades with 19 wins, 12 losses, and $5,700 gain. So again, get out there, get yourself signed up. The price right now is $9.95. This is the absolute cheapest that you are going to find the course for. And what we did, because we kind of, love you guys, I actually made the timer a little bit longer. So if you have a question or something, I'm actually going to give you another hour, 1 minute and 14 seconds. This is what it looks like if you go to optionspaycheck.com. This is where you're going to sign up. You got an hour to get the special price. All you got to do is you click on register today, click on buy now and save, and fill out your information. That's it. And over on the right, you'll see it's $9.95. So because I want you to feel comfortable, if you have any questions and you need to call into our office or anything, you got another hour to get that special $9.95 rate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my colleague Steve in, and he and I are going to do a Q&A session, and we'll answer any questions that may remain.
All right. Awesome job, Ron, as always. And so I hope people got a lot out of today's session. And I'd just like to throw in there, man, if you're serious about this, if you're somebody who really loves the idea of generating 3% a month, I mean, when you take a step back and think about that, we're talking neighborhood of 36% a year. If that's something that you could really make use of, we can teach you how to do it. The only thing we can't do, Ron and I, is make you want to, right? We do our best, but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to pull the trigger. So we go through this as best we can and try to inspire you to do so. And we hope that it looks like we've inspired a few, Ron, at least so far. And they'll probably keep coming in here as we continue to go. So that's great. Listen, a couple things. So elite rates, we get this question a lot. I think I've already seen it in the chat. Those of you that are elite with VectorVest, you get $9.95 rate at any time. Okay, now I'd still encourage you to do that as soon as possible. We have this tendency to put things off, and before you know it, you might miss the window and not be a part of the class. So I'd still encourage you to do it as soon as it's possible for you to do so. Also, some folks have asked about the refresher rate. So if you're somebody that's taken options paycheck before, provided it's at least more than 1 year ago, then you can take the refresher for $495. $495 would get you in. Maybe life got in the way, or whatever the situation might be for those folks. So yes, you can come back, and it's a much discounted rate. It's $495 for that. And just briefly before I start asking Ron a few more questions, I'm letting him rest here as best I can. One of the things I really love about this course is how it's broken down. It's really broken down in some nice bite-sized chunks. So Ron, you might start bringing that up so we can show it to folks. I really do feel strongly that it's the most thought out, well laid out course that we offer here at VectorVest. It's very digestible. Ron's methodology is very simple and very digestible, and it's something that anybody can do, whether you've never traded an option before or whether you've traded options for a long, long while. There is going to be something to learn, from this course. I can promise you that. I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of option traders over my 24 years here, and Ron is the best. And one of the things I love about it is how simple, yet how well thought out it is. Simpler than anything I've seen before, and at the same time more effective. So I can't say enough about how important I think this class is for a lot of people. I mean, it can really generate the income you're after so that you can retire and feel more comfortable, about that retirement. And so, Ron, if you just want to show them around here a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the way it works is when you sign up for the course, you are going to get access to our university site. And what I would encourage you to do, there's a lot of stuff. Over here on the left is kind of like your table of contents, if you will. There's a watch me first video that kind of just kind of reminds you of what you signed up for and the whole idea of what we're trying to do. But there's also a course curriculum checklist. Open that guy up and print it out, because what it does is it guides you essentially through everything we do. So here's the dates of all of our classes. There's so there's a schedule of events in there. We've got checklists for every module. So we want to make sure you're doing the snapshot, watching the lessons. And Steve said, breaking it up into chunks. If you go into module 1 and into our lessons, we break it down into bite-sized chunks. We talk about what an option is. It's basically a 2-minute class. That's it. Rights versus obligation of being option buyers versus sellers. It's another 3 minutes. We break everything up into very small chunks. All of these entire videos together, you're looking at probably about 15 minutes long or maybe even 20 minutes for module 1. But then we break it down into the review. We've got action items. We've got quizzes that you walk through. Every module has a action item. So we don't want you just reading materials and looking at things. We want you to go out there and start looking for the information we're telling you. We got FAQs. We got the recordings available. All 8 modules right there. And again, you get access to all 8 modules right away. I would encourage you, though, slow down. Keep it easy. You know what I mean? You don't want to get crazy. So you don't take like all 8 modules at once. 2 modules a week. And then there's the SPX trading program. This is the area where we'll have our recordings for office hours and everything, and our live trading sessions. A couple of videos on Options Pro that'll help you out when you get the software. We're going to teach you, by the way, and use Options Pro. We're also going to be using, just so you know, we're going to be using broker software too for this. And then there's some broker videos right here. And then also there's links to all of the live webinars that we do. So in case you don't get an email or your email gets lost, you can always log into the university site and get the links for all of our classes. And then you also get the resources. This is going to give you where you can find all the modules. You can print them out. This is where you can download the spreadsheet I showed you. So you get everything that you need with the Options Paycheck experience. It's not just a bunch of modules. We're going to teach you exactly how to do this properly.
All right, awesome. And some questions on course length. I'm going to say total time is probably, I'd say in the neighborhood of 8 hours. Does that sound right to you, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, are you talking like a weekly commitment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 8 hours max. The videos, the live classes, that's probably going to take you probably about 4 hours, and then maybe some study time. So, anywhere from 4 to 8 hours a week.
Yeah, right. So I mean, for these kinds of returns, that is that's not that much effort,
Nope.
and the repetition in this course is substantial. And so it's like you see it, you do it, you see it, you do it, you see it, you do it, and you see it and you do it again. And so by the time this course is complete, I mean, you really should have a strong grasp on what you're doing. Final couple things here. Holiday travel, I know, is coming up. That might, enter into people's equation in their mind on, gee, I don't know what week I might be taking that trip out to see the family, that kind of thing. If you're worried about that, I wouldn't, because of kind of what we said here earlier, which is everything's recorded. If you miss a particular session or something, that's not a total deal breaker. With the way that this course is broken up and the repetition that's built in, you won't even feel like you haven't missed anything. So I would just kind of throw that out there as well. And then, at this, brokers sometimes could be a question. Any brokerage should be able to handle this. And Ron has put together a ton of videos. I'm pretty sure we've got at least the big ones covered for the most part on how you can do these, our trade on those different brokerage websites. And so that's very, very handy. And I don't know. I'm just gonna kind of let you wrap this thing up at this point, how you see fit, Ron. But thanks again for a great presentation, and thank all you folks for being here. And hopefully, we've got at least most of your questions answered.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve, and thank you to everybody else in the background helping me out today. And most importantly, thank you. I appreciate you spending this hour and a half with me. I know time is valuable, so I definitely appreciate it. And I really hope that you make the decision to join us in here for the options paycheck. It's a great class. We've been doing it now for almost 10 years. Thousands of people out there successful, having good luck with this. It's time for you too. So get yourself signed up. You got about another 45 minutes or so to get that special price. If you need to call in our office, please do so. They'll answer your questions. But again, thank you so much for attending this afternoon with me or this evening. I look forward to seeing you next week with the start of the live events, and wish you all the best of success in the remainder of 2025 and forward. So good night, everybody, and thanks once again. Take care, everyone.